I'm Guy Trainin.
And I'm Allison High.
And this is Tech Edge.
The first app that we're going to talk about is going to be Poetry Magnets. And this app is going to be great for actually putting your poetry up on a board to see it. So again, I go right down here to where it says categories. I push that. And then this is where I choose my words. So let's choose...
Oh, we're very close to Valentine's Day. How about romantic?
Oh, let's choose romantic. So if I were to write a poem for my sweetheart, which I know lots of kids might be thinking about, I might write... Now, when it goes down like this, you can see that all you have to do is just push the screen again and it'll come up. I can scroll through here. Well, my sweetheart, I'm going to say is a genius. That'll make him happy. I'm going to say that he is good. He likes science. So you can see that you can move him around up here. And then this little button down here, if I want to clear it, I can push that, or I can push save. The next one we're going to look at is called Poetry, and it's just an app called Poetry. And this one is actually where you can search poetry online. It gives you a bank of topics that you can look at, and you can also find ideas of what to write about on it. This poetry app is actually by the Poetry Foundation, and this is probably one of my favorites. So what you'll do is when it comes up, you push spin, and it will load all of the poems in its database. And you can see up here, there's a list of each, and all of these are your categories. So if I wanted to choose, I can move through here, I could choose humor and nature. I have one line here, and then I can move this back and forth to match it. So let's do humor, work, and play. And you can see that down here, the poems change, and you can choose which poem you'd like to look at. So I'm going to choose an American poem. You can see that that poem comes up. You can scroll through it. You can also make this one of your favorites. So if you were looking at this at home and you wanted to share this with your classroom, you can star it. You just push this little star right here, and it says saved, which means it is saved in your favorites. So I'm going to push OK. And down at the bottom is where you're going to find that. So right now we're on Discover Poetry. I'm going to click on Find Poetry. If I had a certain topic that I wanted to search or to have my students research and read more about, I could either have them choose from this bank that they give you, or they could type up here in the search bank. Another place that you can look at down here is the favorites. And you can see that when I pushed that star, it saved my American poem into my favorites bank. So that's kind of a nice selection where you can choose what you'd like. Down here is more information. You can read more about the Poetry Foundation, what they're all about, their mobile applications. It's kind of a nice feature for you. And then something I like as well is this poetry magazine. And this is actually a link that will take you to the current issue of the online poetry magazine that is produced by the Poetry Foundation. You can go back a couple months, and this is actually free. So if you want your students to become more immersed in poetry and have them reading more, you could have them do this at home through the Poetry Foundation website. The next thing that we're going to talk about is Brain Pop. Brain Pop is actually one of my favorite things, and you can use this on the iPad or actually just on a computer. I used this in my classroom last year with my kids, and they loved it. Brain Pop covers a wide variety of topics, science, social studies, English, math, arts and music, health, and technology. So today we're going to talk about poetry. So I'm going to go to English, and you just select your topic, and it takes you to this screen that you can see a lot comes up. So I'm going to go ahead and go to writing. You can see that writing topics brings up a large variety of topics. You can kind of scroll through those. Just about anything you might need for writing. Today though, we are focusing on poetry. So we're going to scroll through. These are alphabetical order, so I'm going to hit poetry. And that will load up. Down here you can see that the subscription required. So to watch this poetry movie, you actually have to have your subscription. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've logged in. The first thing that's going to pop up is going to be that movie. And this is kind of the main character throughout all of Brain Pop movies, him and his robot friend. Every single Brain Pop movie starts with a student sending in a question. So you can see that this one starts with, what can you tell me about poetry? And every one of them start with Tim and Moby, who are our main characters, and they are usually doing something that goes with the topic. So you could see that Tim was saying a poem. I'm going to kind of scroll through here so you can see what else is in here. You can see that this poetry movie will teach you all about the different kinds of poems. So if you want to watch just a small section, you can scroll right to that section and watch it. Kind of a nice way to introduce a new topic. You can see that this will go on to teach about verse and rhyme. So after we've watched the movie, we can go and take the quiz, which is something that I know my students really liked to do. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to take the quiz. Yes, we want to leave the movie. And this one will come up right online. So we can answer, and I'm just going to choose one. It will tell you if you get it right or wrong. You can go through. So once you choose one that's correct, they'll actually let you know right away. This will go through, and usually there's 10 questions on here. You can go through and you can see your scores. Yes, I want to leave. There's no scores in here yet, but after your students go through, you can see their scores, their highest scores, their averages, and this is really nice for the teachers.
The next one is iPoetry, and the reason I like iPoetry is it helps kids write, and it guides them through the process of writing. So what we have are all kinds of poems that we can look at that are available here, and if you go to the 5W poem, and it's actually got an introduction. Now, you don't necessarily want kids to read that whole introduction, although they can, depending on the age, but it helps guide you through the process that you think that the author of the app, but you might think they want to go through. So there's the whole process from objectives to brainstorming, other ideas, revisions, and final checks. And I love the final checks because even if the kids don't read anything else, you can tell them at the end, go to those final checks and ask yourself these questions. But it has examples.
You're finding these all along the bottom here.
Yes.
So the last part was just at info.
Info is just the general info, and then we've got examples. And then we've got generate, which is another example, and that's computer generated, about the rattlesnake. Just let you know what your computer is thinking. And then you can write it yourself. So it goes step by step. So a noun that will be the subject of our poem. How about a magic hat? And a phrase that tells you what happened to the subject.
Disappeared. You can see as he's putting this in, it goes through every step. And there's easy buttons to push, previous if you want to change something that you put in, or next to go to the next step. This one says intro phrase that tells where it happened.
Magic hat, it disappeared in my closet late last night. I did not pay attention. Now we'd like to talk to you about 2 ways to share poetry and to experience poetry on the iPad. We're going to talk about Poetry Daily, and this is an app, and this has a daily piece of poetry, in this case Feathered Friends by Martha Zweig. And every day you will have a different poem. So this is the poem for February 7th, 2002. It's quite an extensive poem. Then, if you click on Use, which is one of my favorite features in this one, you can actually see that besides things about the app, you get poems from a variety of media outlets. So The Guardian from Britain has a daily poetry, or a weekly poetry, sorry. And so if you go and you press that, it'll connect you to The Guardian within the app. And this has a book and the poem that goes with it. And this is about Great Expectations, which again is Charles Dickens. And this has a daily haiku from various sources. And this is today's. Gracefully slither, he sneaks to the net untouched. With one swing, he scores. I think it's about a spider, but I'm not sure. And you can look, this is today's quote. You can get a past quote, and these are the ones I've looked at before. So this was from February 5th about sea fog. And you can get a random one. And if you want a new random one, you just shake it or you tap and you get another one. See you next time on Tech Edge.